Hi there, it's March 21st and we are continuing our journey in Torah in the book of Numbers, in Hebrew Bamidbar, meaning in the desert, because the children of Israel are in the desert at this point. And as they travel in chapters 32 and 33, we're finding the children of Reuben and Gad like the place where they are. This is the place that's been taken from King Og and King Sihon, and they are wanting to settle there. And so they approach Moses and they say, look, we don't really want to go across Jordan. We'd rather settle here with our families. And Moses is really perturbed by this, because he says, do you not realize that this is the very thing which caused God to get angry with us 40 years ago and refuse to allow us to enter the promised land? Are you about to make that happen again? And so the tribe of Gad and Manasseh and Reuben, all the three of them, actually say, we want to settle here, but we will come across the Jordan with the rest of the tribes of Israel, the other 9.5 tribes of Israel, and we will fight for them, and we won't return until they have possessed the land. So this actually meets with Moses' approval, and therefore they're allowed to settle and to build towns and to build sheepfolds on the land to the east of the Jordan, where they have taken land from these kings that have been conquered. Then in chapter 33, there's a long list there, up to verse 37 or so, of all of the travels of the children of Israel over the 40 years they're wandering around the desert. And they widely travel around the wilderness, move from place to place, even get down towards the sea. It's quite a thought that they move so many times, and maybe a couple of million, up to a couple of million people. We know that there are 600,000 men at least, but then if you include the women and the children as well, scholars say that perhaps there are around up to 2 million people moving. And for those people to be moving that many times is a major exercise. We also find some of the names of the places that they call that remind us of some of their story. Elim, where the wells were, the place where they met God in the striking of the rock, the places where God struck down many of them and where they were buried. And these places serve as reminders of their journey through the desert. But then at the end of our reading in Numbers 33, 38, 39, we read of the death of Aaron. And Aaron dies at 123, and he dies at Mt Hor. And that brings to the end almost that generation. And Moses is not going to see the promised land. Only Joshua and Caleb are going to enter into it. So at this point in Numbers, we're coming towards that place where the promised land is in sight. It shows us again the faithfulness of God, that God's promise was that his glory would cover the earth as the waters covered the sea. And even though that generation, Aaron's generation, Moses' generation, were not allowed to see, they didn't enter into the promised land, God is faithful. And even here, with Reuben and Gad and Manasseh, these tribes, they begin to receive the earnest of what God has promised. There's an inheritance for us, and we are urged to come in through Jesus, whom we believe, and through whom we are brought into the covenant and the promises. And therefore there's an inheritance for us awaiting as well. Have a very good March the 21st.